Today we're jumping into something truly powerful. We're going to be pulling apart a source that tells, well, just an incredible story of grit and sacrifice.
That's right. The source material we're digging into today is titled Rays in the Darkness, Mira and Arjun's Triumph.
Okay.
And it's this really moving narrative from a small, very poor village in Uttar Pradesh, India. It centers around a sister and brother, Mira and Arjun.
Right, Mira and Arjun. And our mission for this deep dive really is to unpack this story, go beyond just the surface events.
Hmm.
We want to pull out the core lessons it offers, like what does it really mean to overcome huge adversity? And maybe how this story might challenge how you think about success and wealth.
Yeah, and the source, it paints a really stark picture right from the beginning. It grounds you immediately in their reality.
Oh, so.
Well, it describes Mira and Arjun being born into, and this is the phrase it uses, just chillingly simple. Nothing, no wealth, no support, not even a proper roof.
Wow, nothing.
Yeah. Their father, he'd lost the family land because of debt. And their mother, she was working these grueling hours as a domestic helper, often in distant towns, just trying to keep them fed.
And the source says hunger was just constant, like a normal part of life.
Pretty much, yeah. A constant unwelcome guest, as the
Yeah.
source puts it. And hope, that felt like some impossibly distant thing.
So a really tough start.
Exactly. Life was relentlessly difficult from day one. It mentions, while other kids might have had simple toys, they played with, like, broken utensils and pebbles.
Hmm.
And get this, by the age of 5, Mira was already learning to cook. And Arjun, her older brother, was walking 3 kilometers each way just to fetch water.
3 kilometers just for water. So school, I imagine, was completely off the table initially.
Oh, absolutely. It was a luxury they just couldn't afford.
Hmm.
But the source highlights this really crucial turning point. There's this simple line their mother repeated, almost like a mantra.
Okay.
Akal hi asli dhan hai.
Which the source translates as, intelligence is the real wealth.
Exactly. And for them, this wasn't just, a nice saying. It became this guiding light for them in all that darkness, a really deeply held belief in the power of learning.
That's powerful.
And the source, it really captures Mira's early spirit beautifully. It describes her showing this first spark of, well, defiance almost. She actually snuck into a government school one day.
Just walk in.
Yeah, just to listen from the back.
I love that detail. And she got noticed, right? By a teacher.
She did. The teacher asked about her notebook, and her response, it's heartbreakingly honest. She said, I have only memory, not paper.
Wow.
Yeah. That raw, unvarnished desire to learn,
Hmm.
despite having absolutely zero physical things to help her, it moved the teacher.
Understandably.
So the source says this teacher gave her some old books and kind of quietly encouraged her to keep coming. It seems like a small act of kindness, maybe,
Yeah.
but the narrative positions it as just absolutely pivotal.
Okay, so as Mira finds this tiny crack of opportunity, the source then shifts focus, right, to her older brother, Arjun, and it reveals the immense sacrifice he was making at the same time. He was smart, the source suggests, maybe even brilliant.
Yep, potentially. But he quit school after class 8,
Class 8's so young.
very young. And the source, it doesn't really dwell on his emotions, but it notes quite starkly that his dream of becoming an engineer quietly died.
Quietly died.
I-
That phrasing hits hard.
It really does.
It-
Just imagine that, a dream just extinguishing because the family's needs were so overwhelming, so immediate. He took on this grueling manual labor, pulling carts, working at tea stalls, anything.
Anything to help them survive.
Anything to bring in just a few rupees. And then he sort of transferred all his own aspirations onto Mira.
Right. The source quotes him telling her, you will become what I couldn't.
Yeah. And that's not just a statement, is it? In the context of this whole story, it feels like an act of profound selflessness.
Definitely. The sibling bond built on that mutual support and sacrifice, it feels like such a core thread running through the whole narrative.
It really is. And life didn't exactly get easier during their teenage years either. When Mira was 13, their mother fell seriously ill,
Oh, no.
which led to rising medical bills, plunging them even deeper into debt. The source, it doesn't shy away from the hardship. It describes nights they went hungry.
But even through all that, Mira, she kept going to school, driven by Arjun's sacrifice and, I guess, her own fierce will.
Somehow, yeah. She never missed a day of school, according to the source.
And Arjun just kept working those punishing hours.
Unwavering dedication.
Yeah,
The
like-
source really emphasizes that, just making sure she had the absolute basics, worn out books, a simple uniform, just enough food to keep her going.
And then the narrative shows us, like, the first real payoff for all this sacrifice. Mira won a big debate competition.
Yes. Speaking on Betty Bachao, Betty Parao.
Which means save the daughter, educate the daughter.
Exactly. The source describes her voice actually shaking the crowd. And this wasn't just, some school event. It was this moment where the village, who had only really known her for her poverty, started to see her differently.
Like, as a potential voice for change.
Precisely. That must have felt incredible for her. Then she topped her entire district in the Class 10 exams.
A huge academic achievement.
Massive. But, as the source explains, it immediately created a new, really daunting challenge.
Which was?
The need to study in the city for higher education.
Yeah.
But they had absolutely no money for that.
Right. Another hurdle.
And this is where Arjun makes another huge move. He leaves the village entirely, goes to Delhi.
To the city himself.
Yeah, taking on this really punishing construction work. The source paints such a vivid picture. Him living in this tiny tin room, enduring these harsh conditions, saving every single rupee he earned.
To send back to Mira for her expenses.
Exactly. His own comfort, his own future, completely secondary to her education.
So Mira makes it to the city, she gets a scholarship, pursues engineering, and the source describes her studying by candlelight in this tiny rented room, facing mockery from others for her, like broken English.
Yeah, but practicing relentlessly, just fueled by everything that had come before, all the sacrifices.
And despite all those personal pressures, she stayed connected to her roots, didn't she?
She did. The source points out she volunteered to teach children in slums. It seems like a way for her to ensure she didn't lose sight of where she came from, the reality faced by kids who are just like she used to be.
Okay, and here's where the source delivers what feels like a really profound moment in the story. After years of just unimaginable struggle, after all that sacrifice to get an engineering degree, a big company offers her a secure, high-paying job during campus placements.
The conventional definition of success.
The dream job, basically.
And she refuses it.
Yeah. This is where the narrative really challenges you, the listener. It shows Mira had this vision that went way beyond just personal comfort or security.
What was her bigger dream?
As described in the source, it was to build a startup focused on rural education. She wanted to create a pathway for other children, kids like herself, who were denied that basic right to learn. Wow. That perspective, after everything she'd personally endured, it's truly remarkable. It just flips the script on what making it actually means.
It absolutely does. So with the help of a mentor and a small loan, she launched Udanan Shiksha.
Which means flight education.
Right. And the source describes it as a mobile-based learning platform designed specifically for rural kids with limited resources.
And it worked. It took off.
It really did. The source notes that within just 2 years, it had spread across 50 villages. It was impacting thousands of students.
So this wasn't just personal success anymore. This was creating actual systemic change.
Exactly. And her work started getting significant national attention. The source recounts her being invited to speak at a national conference.
Standing on a stage with ministers and prominent entrepreneurs?
Quite a journey from sneaking into the back of a classroom just to listen, eh?
Absolutely. Her story was published widely. She won national awards.
And the source makes this really clear for Mira. The real culmination wasn't the accolades or the media buzz.
No. What was it then?
Well, what's truly powerful here is where the source directs our attention for her moment of triumph. She brought Arjun, her brother, to her award function.
Okay.
And on that national stage, in front of everyone, she publicly credited him. The source quotes her words. "He gave up his dreams so I could live mine. Today, whatever I am, it's because of him."
Oh, wow.
And it describes the entire crowd just rising for a standing ovation.
You can almost feel the weight of that moment reading it in the source. It wasn't just her victory, was it? It was their shared triumph.
Completely. Built on that foundation of mutual love and sacrifice we talked about earlier, it just underscores that powerful theme running through the whole narrative, that true success, at least in this story's view, is often a shared journey, not just some individual achievement.
Right.
So the source then shows her returning to her village. No longer the poor girl who left, but this symbol of what's actually possible.
And she didn't forget the community, did she? The place that was the site of her struggle, but also the inspiration for her work.
Not at all. The source details her rebuilding the local school, starting a library named after her mother.
That's wonderful.
And then, something truly special. She gave Arjun his dream back. She enrolled him in distance engineering courses. The source notes that at the age of 28, he finally earned his engineering degree,
He finally got it.
fulfilling that dream he had sacrificed for so long.
And the villagers, how did they react to all this?
The villagers, who had seen her struggle, maybe even doubted her at times, they named a lane after her Mira Marg.
Mira Way or Mira Path.
Exactly.
Mm.
It's this physical marker of her impact and their profound respect for what she and they achieved.
Hmm. And the moral that the source offers, how does it tie everything together?
It ties it together beautifully, really. It states that success isn't about what you have, materially speaking, but what you refuse to give up on.
Okay.
They had no material wealth, no traditional support system, none of that.
Yeah.
But the source highlights their courage, and crucially, that unwavering belief a brother had in his sister.
And together, through that incredible bond and all that sacrifice, they genuinely brought light into their darkness.
It really shows, doesn't it, that even when you're faced with these seemingly insurmountable external barriers, internal strength and that kind of mutual support can actually carve out paths forward.
So, okay. We've journeyed through Mira and Arjun's incredible story as it's presented in the source material we looked at. From those really stark beginnings, sleeping hungry, enduring just selfless sacrifice.
Yeah, Arjun giving up his own education.
Right, and Mira studying by candlelight. They achieve truly remarkable success. Mira's startup, Udon Shiksha, impacting thousands of kids.
Gaining national recognition.
And Arjun finally realizing his long-delayed dream of getting that engineering degree. It's quite a story.
It really is. And the core message the source seems to leave you with, drawn directly from its stated moral, is that their success wasn't really defined by, material possessions or lack of them. It was their profound refusal to give up, fueled by Mira's courage, and that incredibly powerful, selfless sibling bond and sacrifice between her and Arjun.
This story, it really does challenge you, the listener, to think about your own definition of success or wealth, doesn't it?
It does.
Is it purely about individual achievement, about material gain? Or could something maybe deeper be at play?
Well, and if we look at the way this source concludes their story,
Yeah.
it kind of leaves you with this powerful final thought to consider, based only on what happened within the narrative itself.
Okay, what's that?
Reflect on the idea that maybe the deepest wealth isn't just individual accomplishment alone. Perhaps it's the knowledge gained and then shared, especially when that whole foundation is built upon selfless sacrifice. I mean, think about how their journey didn't just transform Mira and Arjun's lives. It also brought a school, a library, and even, a newly named lane to their entire